The Australian government is working on 3 different reforms: digital identities, electronic signatures, and decentralized autonomous organizations. In this video, I would like to show how interconnected these topics are, and so it would be wise to develop the reforms as one consistent package. Hi, my name is Alexey Konashevich, and in this video we will continue exploring regulations in Australia. We will talk about how important it is to see the larger picture of the digital transformation of the economics and governance. First, let's talk through digital identities and electronic signatures. There are different views on these concepts, and different technologies underpin them. And in the range of options, if we consider modern cryptography as the best choice, we inevitably come to both solutions as 2 pieces of the same technology: digital identity and electronic signatures. Those who don't know what is asymmetric cryptography, welcome to this video. And those who know, you might be interested in watching this video where I discuss the European experience within their so-called EIDS regulatory framework. I also explained how it could be much improved with blockchain technology. In a nutshell, the solution relies on private and public keys, where users' private key is used to sign documents and transactions. And the public key, because it is mathematically connected with the private key, is used to verify signatures and as a digital identity. And to work, it requires public key infrastructure and an ecosystem of certificate authorities, or trust service providers, as it's called in the European market. A trust service provider is an entity, a government agency or a commercial provider that certifies that Alice is Alice and Bob is Bob, and updates their ID certificates if they lose their keys. However, it's worth noting that the European model is highly bureaucratic and centralized. Besides, they experienced problems with the interoperability of their infrastructure for a long time. Therefore, for Australia and for any other country for sure, I think it would be better to learn from these lessons and develop a blockchain solution. Besides, it's worth looking into the direction of self-sovereign identity, SSI, and the framework of decentralized identifiers, DID. And in the future I will make a video about it. Now you may want to ask, how does it relate to DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, and the intention of the Australian government to regulate it as a form of legal entity. But first, let's refer to this document, Modernizing Document Execution, where the authorities introduced the idea of reforming electronic signatures. The corporate regulations still require wet signatures on paper documents. For example, if Alice wants to convey her corporate rights, she will need to commit an old-fashioned paper transaction. During the pandemic, the authorities realized how obsolete the regulations were and took some temporary measures. Some states decided that these measures are enough and made them permanent. But eventually they ended up having a weird system. So imagine, Alice first writes her contract, for example, in Microsoft Word, and then she prints it out on paper, signs it, and scans it. Then she sends the image of the paper via email to Bob, to her counterparty. Bob prints it out, signs it, scans, sends it back. And these are called electronic signatures. How inefficient is this? It doesn't look like progress at all. Someone can suggest, let's improve it by using cryptography, aka digital signatures. So now Alice can apply her digital signature to the electronic file without printing it out and then send it to Bob. But wait, what if Alice signs contracts of selling the same share in the company to Bob and Dave at the same time? It is called the problem of double spending. There are 2 solutions. You need a credible third party, for example, a government that maintains a public registry of companies and corporate rights, or the same but on blockchain, decentralized system. By the way, throughout 20 years, Europe has never introduced digital signatures to corporate sphere. Basically, no significant transactions are done through EIDS. You can't sell your house with your electronic signature in Europe. You can't sell your share in the company. And the reason for that is that nobody wants to develop such a registry because the centralized registry requires so much protection from all threats that it is easier to keep the system offline. The transactions are on paper. The registry of companies is electronic and they are connected through the government agency with registrars. But nowadays we have blockchain technology. To understand how this system can be useful, let's think outside the square. The smart contract is not a paper contract with written words in it. It's a program. More so, on the blockchain, normally it requires something to transfer. Conventionally, it is called a token. The smart contract does not operate in a vacuum. It needs something inside the token that it transfers from one address to another. To make this transaction real, the token, this electronic record, must represent the right, not pegged with some rights, not connected with some promises, but the actual corporate right that Alice transfers to Bob. And once it gets transferred, it doesn't require any further registration elsewhere, for instance in the registry of companies. Blockchain is the registry. Once the transaction is there, it's protected, it's immutable. Whoever or whenever refers to this record, they will learn that this share, the token, belongs to Bob. One thing is missing though, the component of legal governance. To resolve legal disputes, to transfer inheritance, to restore access if private keys are lost, and address all other legal complications that can arise. But this is another topic. You can watch my video about it, how to create jurisdictions on blockchain. How does it relate to electronic signatures and digital identities? Transactions on blockchain are authorized through digital signatures. Asymmetric cryptography underpins blockchain technology. And because the parties interacting remotely want to know that Alice is Alice and Bob is Bob, they need not just anonymous public keys, which play the role of addresses on blockchain, as we remember, but verified identities. That's why we need a public key infrastructure, PKI, or precisely speaking, decentralized PKI. If we don't want to get back to the year 1999 when the European Union first introduced cryptographic signatures for legal transactions and stuck there for 20 years. Conclusions. A cryptographic electronic signature or digital signature is the other side of the digital identity. To make it decentralized and interoperable, we need public key infrastructure built on blockchain with the state-of-the-art stack of technologies including SSI and DID. Being natively embedded in the blockchain infrastructure will allow tokenization of corporate rights, property rights, and all other legal rights on the blockchain. It will supersede centralized bureaucratic state-owned registries, such as the registry of companies. However, it will require the presence of the official authorities in the digital environment. So we need technical protocols and standards that enable legal governance or jurisdiction on blockchain. There is no need to replace centralized registries all at once. They should work. Instead, a new generation of public registries can be used for new types of entities and forms of business, as decentralized autonomous organizations. It can become the first embodiment of the new generation of legal entities in the digital economy. And I hope Australia will do it right.